I, female 27, have been married to my wonderful husband, 30, for 5 years, but we've been together for 7 years. In all that time, my parents, female 58 and male 60, have never really taken a shine to him, but everyone has always been amicable. That is, everyone except my sister, 22, who seems to think that the world revolves around her. She is the light of my parents' lives and can do absolutely no wrong in their eyes. So simply put, my husband and I generally keep our distance from her. Last weekend was my dad's 60th birthday, and everyone was invited. My husband and I went knowing my sister would be there, but we didn't think much of it. Instead, we expected a pleasant evening celebrating my dad. It is important to note, before we go further, that my husband follows certain dietary restrictions as part of his religion, which I'm keeping vague. Still, everyone in the family knows and has been accommodating thus far. Unfortunately, after everyone had eaten dinner, my sister announced that she had specifically asked the caterers to add in some of the restricted foods so that she could test if my husband would even know the difference. To say the least, I was furious. Just for clarification purposes, the restricted ingredients were added into sauces, and there were no noticeable pieces. My husband and I were both absolutely appalled and just walked out, while my sister yelled that she didn't get the big deal and that we needed to take the sticks out of our butts. My parents had absolutely nothing to say and just watched. They later texted me that I should consider that my sister was young and didn't know better. I did not respond. I guess that leads me to the title. I've absolutely gone no contact with everyone since the party and have not responded to a single message or phone call, nor has my husband. When my parents showed up at the house, we didn't open the door. I didn't go to reception when they showed up at work. I've not laid eyes on them at all. Today, some cops knocked on the door, saying they had received a missing persons report and were looking for me. Fortunately, that was all solved quite quickly, in that I never actually went missing. But now my friends are saying I wasted police resources when I could have just texted my parents back, saying that I didn't want to hear from them. I just feel like a grown woman shouldn't have to justify where she is to her parents. Not the idiot. You didn't waste police resources. Your parents did by filing a bogus report that you were missing. Of course, they knew you were upset with them and refused their contact attempts. You might allow an open channel if you think they plan to apologize, but not if they're just going to make excuses again for your sister's awful behavior. NOP, your sister's 22. She did this deliberately. It wasn't by mistake, like, I'm so sorry, I never realized that Worcestershire sauce has anchovies in it, or that soy sauce is not always gluten-free. She had to ask the caterers to add this to the sauce in a way that wasn't easily discernible. There's just no other excuse for this. I would honestly never want to speak to them unless they started holding Golden Kid accountable. What a horrid thing to do. Yes, having a golden child and calling the police to report someone missing are classic tactics of narcissistic parents. They call the police to try and pressure you into getting back in contact with them, and also because it makes them look super caring to outsiders. They're trying to manipulate you into resuming contact without acknowledging what they've done wrong. Agreed. Filing a missing persons report was a power play. Parents knew she wasn't missing. They were just mad that she wasn't answering them. They know she's gone no contact for what the golden child did. They were just trying to provoke OP to respond. She refused to come down to reception at work. The job obviously wouldn't have said she was missing or anything that would make a report valid. My neighbor moved in above me about a month ago. Before she moved in, the complex renovated her unit, so she has all hardwood floors except in the bedroom. Unrenovated units like mine are all carpeted. Everything has been fine so far, except that she vacuums her floor at some point every week. Now, obviously, I understand her vacuuming the carpeted areas or her rugs, but she vacuums the hard floors too. It can go on for about a half an hour. The issue is that I work from home, and she vacuums in the middle of the day when I'm in meetings. It's very hard for me to concentrate on my meetings when this happens. I finally went up, knocked on her door, and explained the situation to her. She was very apologetic, and asked when was a better time for her to vacuum so that she doesn't disturb me. I asked why she needed to vacuum her hard floors instead of just sweeping or Swiffering. She said that she has a cat, so she actually vacuums and Swiffers. That's the only way she can ensure she gets all the hair up. I told her that she should consider switching to sweeping and Swiffering instead of vacuuming. She said that wasn't possible, but said that she would make every attempt to vacuum during non-work hours. I asked that she also make sure not to do it too late in the day, and she just closed the door, which made me think maybe I was an idiot. But I have to be able to do my job. Am I the idiot? You are the idiot. She has every right to vacuum whenever she wants, and she was kind and accommodating in asking what time would work for you. Buy some noise-canceling headphones for your meetings and stop imposing on others. All of this, demanding that your neighbor doesn't vacuum during the day? Wow, the entitlement. Your neighbor was prepared to make a very reasonable compromise by vacuuming at a time that was convenient for you. You have no right to dictate how another person cleans their apartment. Sorry. Lots of people vacuum hard floors. She said she wouldn't do it while you were working, and you also said, not too late too. Sheesh, get a grip. I thought the neighbor was vacuuming every day in the middle of the night or something, but once a week, 30 minutes is entirely reasonable. Come on, dude, once a week, 30 minutes? Suppose you can't concentrate for 30 minutes. That's a you problem. At this point, my petty self would vacuum my floors for an hour every workday. My wife and I have 8 kids between us. This story is mostly about our young teen, Gina. Gina came to me recently and said that she wants to be vegan. I told her I'd pay for groceries, but she'll have to plan and cook her meals. She can't live off of frozen foods or takeout, and her mom and I will make sure that her meals are healthy before taking her grocery shopping. She was not thrilled. She asked if we could make small changes to our diet to accommodate her, like switching to vegan pasta and cooking the meatballs separately, but we said no, because we aren't going to change our food and eating habits because she wants to be vegan. She said okay and went to her room. Then she started sending me and my wife links to expensive pots and pan sets. One was $800, plates, cups, and bowls for $200, and her own utensils. I asked why she was sending it to me, and she said she needed new pots, pans, plates, etc. because ours were contaminated. I told her ours were perfectly fine, and if she wanted her own, she could buy them with her allowance and start babysitting. Later that day, I got a call from one of my sons saying that Gina was telling him and my other kids that they had to get all of their snacks out of the fridge in the game room. The game room has a kitchenette because she needs it for her vegan food. When I called and asked her what she was doing, she said her vegan food couldn't be in the same fridge as our food, and it's not fair to make her go all the way to the garage when she's hungry, and so she thought taking over the game room kitchenette would be a good compromise. I told Gina I was done with the vegan BS and that she couldn't be vegan while living in my house. She threw a temper tantrum because she thought I was being cruel, and she's barely spoken to me since then. So I wanted to know if I was the idiot. Edit. She thinks it's the same as us not allowing seafood in the house. One kid is deathly allergic, or making our oldest special meals. They have an autoimmune disease. Gina can eat whatever the heck she wants after all that, and we don't mind cooking and ordering it for her. Not the idiot, but this issue is a lot more complicated. It's not about being vegan. I have a daughter, and at this age, kids feel like they have zero control over their lives. They're desperately trying to find a way that they can assert control. But let's also call a spade a spade. Young teen girls are emotional roller coasters. Yeah, but 8 kids are a lot. With half that number, kids can feel lost in the shuffle. So I can only imagine 8. OP also mentions that they have one kid with a shellfish allergy, so there's no shellfish in the house, and another kid with severe medical issues whose diet is monitored, and the family eats food that's okay for that kid. I wonder if this whole vegan thing is an attempt to get attention and consideration that she feels she's not getting. I really do see this veganism as a call for help, a call for attention. The insistence on expensive pots and pans is a plea for the parents to show her that they're willing to spend money on her. Demanding refrigerator space could easily be a way of stalking out space in the home that's hers alone. I bet anything there's a part of this kid that just really wants her parents to acknowledge her. Just the way that OP handled the initial request, throwing everything back on the girl, she had to do this, that, and the next thing, or the privilege of being vegan would be taken away. No help or involvement from the parents, except to judge her. Sorry, but you are the idiot. My sister, 31, Stephanie, was our parents' golden child, while I, 28 female, and my other sister, 33, Emily, were always an afterthought. Our parents would tell Emily it was okay for Stephanie to insult and steal her things because, quote, she's your baby sister. They would allow Stephanie to do the same to me because your big sister knows better than you and you need to listen to and respect her. Stephanie was the center of attention at any event. She would get more gifts than us on our birthdays and would always get to select the theme and who was invited. This has continued even as Stephanie is now an adult. For example, Stephanie not only chose a place I hated for my graduation dinner, but she also chose to announce her pregnancy at the same dinner, and my parents knew about it. They scolded me for being upset because a diploma's a piece of paper. This is a new life. They said it was important that everyone was there for the news of the family's first grandchild. I realized that they would never value me compared to Stephanie. Since then, I have not spoken to Stephanie or my parents beyond emergencies concerning other family members, and neither has Emily. We've communicated slightly more since my mother passed away, but it's still minimal. I'm getting married, and my father's reached out to me about the plans for him and Stephanie to arrive early, since he assumed he would walk me down the aisle. At the same time, Stephanie would be an honorary lead bridesmaid of sorts. Emily's already my maid of honor. I explained to my father that Matt, my best friend since college, would be walking me down the aisle. My father started commenting on how this was ridiculous and disrespectful because the man who raised me and gave me life should matter more to me than some college buddy. He then demanded to know about Stephanie's spot as a bridesmaid. I told him that Stephanie was not invited to the wedding because I knew if Stephanie attended, she would always be the center of attention. I want a day about me and my accomplishments and milestones instead of it being all about Stephanie. I don't care how bratty it sounds. He kept arguing. I got fed up and told him he could go walk the daughter he cared about down the aisle and hung up. Now multiple people, mostly extended family, are calling me an idiot on various points. They're saying how my mother became extremely ill during her pregnancy with Stephanie. The doctors weren't optimistic about their survival, and I could never truly understand what that would be like to live in constant fear of losing your child. Many are saying that I'm wrong to ban Stephanie from the wedding because, in a way, she's also a victim of our parents' favoritism. They point out that Stephanie isn't having the easiest time in life right now, and she could use some sisterly support and involvement. I disagree with these points, but am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Stephanie can speak to a professional about the tough time that she's having. However, it's not on you to hold your breath for the entirety of your wedding day. As for Dad, yeah, you don't get to play favorites and assume you're the apple of all your children's eyes. Ignore the extended family and their BS reasons. They weren't living your life for even an hour, so away with them. Away with them sounds Shakespearean. Love it. And this was exactly my thought. If Stephanie was a victim of this behavior, so was OP. So unless and until Stephanie can show she's realized her behavior was hurtful to others and she can be in an event without ruining it for others, she's unwelcome. Because you know who else was a victim of the parents' favoritism? OP. It sounds like it's about time Stephanie was put in her place, and the same goes for your father. Enjoy your wedding without them. For once in your life, this day is about you, and you don't want people around you who'll bring you down or gossip behind your back. So I hope you have a fantastic day and make some great memories with your sister, Emily, who cares about you. I, female 33, am a mother of 2. Last week, my sister, 37, asked me if I could babysit her son, Ben, tween, over the weekend, as she and her husband needed to attend her friend's child-free wedding. Her original plan was for Ben to stay with our parents, but they bailed on her. I talked to my husband and we agreed. Our kids like spending time with their older cousin, which could be a nice little bonding experience. Ben would stay with us from Saturday morning, and my sister agreed to pick him up on Sunday afternoon. I know Ben is a picky eater, and my sister had told me before that he was diagnosed with ADHD. I didn't know how extreme his picky eating was until I babysit him that weekend. When dinner time rolled around on Saturday, I told Ben that we were having spaghetti for dinner. Ben started getting agitated and said that he didn't like spaghetti. I asked him if he's tried spaghetti, and he said he had, that he didn't like it. While cooking, I tried to persuade Ben to try some plain spaghetti or some of the sauce separately because I thought that would help, but he outright refused and started raising his voice. Admittedly, I've never had a big issue with picky eating in either of my children, and my kids are both neurotypical, so I'm not very experienced in that department. However, Ben started demanding that I make chicken nuggets for dinner, which riled up my kids, who started saying they also wanted chicken nuggets. I firmly told Ben that spaghetti is what's on the menu for dinner, and that I'm not making a separate dinner for him. Plus, we don't even have chicken nuggets. Ben started screaming at me and ran off to shut himself in the bathroom. My husband tried to talk to Ben and get him to come out of the bathroom. He reluctantly came out after around 20 minutes. Ben was still adamant that he wouldn't try the spaghetti or the sauce. I told Ben he could help himself to what we have in the kitchen and make himself a sandwich or toast. So Ben made himself some sandwiches with deli slices and cheese, and that was his dinner. When my sister collected Ben the next day, I told her what had happened privately. My sister was really mad and said that I handled it really poorly. She said Ben's safe foods for dinner are chicken nuggets, plain ramen noodles, and mashed potatoes, and said that he wouldn't eat anything else for dinner. I told my sister that she didn't tell me that. She said he's old enough to speak for himself, and I should have just made Ben the separate dinner he asked for, and said that depriving him of safe foods is cruel, and that I didn't feed him properly. Not the idiot. Your sister should have sent him over with his own dinner, or given you a heads up so that you could do your meal prep accordingly. Pretty rude of her to chastise you for her lack of communication. My kid is autistic and has a ton of food-related issues. He can be extremely picky. So my husband and I do this for his meals when he's not with us. Provide a list or the food itself. If he eats, great. If he doesn't, oh well, not a surprise. I'll make him something when we get home. You are the idiot because, in the end, you really did make a neurodivergent child cook for himself instead of just listening to him and his needs. You're a parent. Wouldn't you ask the other parent if the child has any food preferences or allergies? I get your sister didn't tell you his food requirements, but you knew your nephew was a picky eater already. Yet you still tried to push him to eat something he clearly said he didn't want, to the point where he locked himself in the bathroom. You did handle it poorly. It was your sister's responsibility to tell you about his safe foods to begin with. Just because he's old enough to speak for himself doesn't relieve her of that obligation. On top of that, she should have given you the heads up earlier so that you could plan these meals and chip in for his food. She's an irresponsible mother.